Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the MaxWeb YouTube channel. My name's Joey, and today I'm honored to be joined by our friend Andrey Kravchenko. He is the head of business development and co-founder of Native Hub by Xevio. And today we're going to be talking a lot about native. Andrey, welcome.
Thank you very much, Joey. I appreciate you, and it's great to be here once again.
Yeah, it's not your first time on the channel. I meant to mention that.
Not the
Andrey's
first
a returning guest. If you've seen his original one, I think it was about 3 years ago. You're definitely an OG subscriber.
For sure. No, it's been quite a while. Yes, I mean, at that time I was a podcast recorder in a slightly different capacity because back then I used to work for Taboola, and now I'm a co-founder of an entirely different company, yet from a adjacent industry.
Yeah, let's dive into it. So, like I said, we're going to be talking a lot about native today. So my first question, honestly, is what is your background in native? Let everybody know what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's quite necessary to mention what's the original background because I was studying to be a journalist, and I was generally thinking that I'll be working in the industry and producing content for other people to engage with, and then for the guys like our company to monetize it. But then I ended up in Taboola sort of by accident, and then I progressed there to from a relatively junior position of a sales development representative to a team lead role over the course of 5.5 years. So my background is, I mean, I was hired to do some lead gen, as not glamorous as it sounds. And then ultimately, since I was working for an emerging market, I've got a hold of like a lot more opportunity that I was hired to do originally. And, then the sales came in, and then lots of events came in. And ultimately over the 5 years, I managed to grow my own team. So the background is, from a junior salesperson to a manager, and ultimately to a business owner, which I am now.
Very nice. That's the natural progression. Happy
Very,
to hear.
very, I mean, I won't say quite corporate, but, it started corporate, but ultimately it became non-corporate.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial
Exactly. Yeah.
entrepreneur inside of you came out. So you've been in the native space for a while now, a bit over 5 years, you said?
So soon it's going to be 6 years.
6.
What's considered a veteran? Like I
Considered a vet? I don't have a line in the sand from when you become or when you're not to when you become a veteran. Maybe the 5-year mark. I think that's a good mark to
I feel good about
consider
that.
yourself a veteran. If that's the mark we're setting it at, I'm also a veteran.
Let's set a benchmark.
I think that's a good benchmark for industry veteran. 5+
Let
years.
us know in the comments if you're a vet or not.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'll be looking at the comments. Let's see.
But it's quite interesting because when you're starting at the company, like I did a few years ago, and you'll be like, well, hey, there's so many people and they know so much about it. And then 5 years after, you'll be like, okay, you catch yourself answering all the questions of junior people, and you start feeling good about yourself because you'll be like, well, hey, been in the space long enough to start helping the future generation of native marketers grow within the company and outside the company. And then you have one of these calls with someone who's extremely senior, and you speak with them, and you'll be like, well, I worked with this company and that company. He's like, I know it because I found this company 20 years ago. And you'll be like, oh shit, I'll shut up. Please talk more. I want to learn from you. I've had a couple of instances like this. It's quite grounding, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really nice to help people who are newer in the industry kind of get their footing and teach them the things that you were taught years ago. I find myself doing that often as well. But yeah, no, it's important to never stop learning. There's always more for us to know. There's always places for us to improve. So I think that's a good mindset to have. And I think
100%.
I think you're very mindful of your position, and that's a good thing. So like I said, you've been in the native space for a while now. We said almost 6 years, a true native veteran, as we discovered. So I wanted to ask you, do you think it's still a powerful traffic source in 2024?
Yeah, to be honest, like by we, I mean my previous employer, my previous crew at Taboola, we kept getting this question every now and then, pretty much every single year. Either from conversations with clients or at conferences. I get this question a lot right now, and people will be like, do you think native is outdated with the younger generation using different mediums to engage with different traffic sources to target them. No longer people read the news the same way they used to. Like, they don't really go on BBC, they go on Twitter to then go to BBC, or they go to a TikTok to read some, a condensed piece of information, usually a video form. Or more recently, you just go to ChatGPT, either one of the integrations. But you know what, like, I'll give you an example. When I'm planning a journey, I recently planned personal travel to Las Vegas, and I'll be like, what I want to do there, because it's certainly a center point of entertainment, at least in the US, and one of the most visited places in the world.
An adult playground, as I like to call it.
It's definitely a playground for adults. So there's so much to do, and I was there for a week. Mind, it wasn't Affiliate Summit West. It was just for leisure, as they say when you arrive. And I was planning my trip, and what did I do? I went to Time Out magazine. I went to a couple more magazines, like a couple more newspapers and places, basically online. I've read TripAdvisor. I've read a bunch of sources and aggregated a couple of venues or places which I thought would be necessary visiting and engaging with. And then I spoke with my wife, and I was like, this is what I did. And she'd be like, why did you spend so much time researching it this way? Why didn't you just watch a TikTok? And I was, well, that's reasonable. Sure. Let's watch some TikToks. And then I found lots of interesting places which no one for some reason recommended me online. Or those places that were recommended to me, they were advertised to me in a much more digestible form, very visual, very in your face, very selling. And I got genuinely more intrigued about them by watching a TikTok. And then another person told me, why not just checking ChatGPT? Why not saying what to do in Las Vegas? And I would summarize everything for you. Or it would create your a whole agenda, a schedule of things to do, because nowadays you can do that. So to answer your original question about native, I think the way we consume content, the way we engage with it, the way we interact with ads is certainly changing. But the good news for native is native monetizes the sources of all the content that people get access to via semi-digested TikToks, or definitely very digested GPT summaries. But the source is always on these news websites, and people, at least until something drastic changes, will always get back to the sources. And if you want to sell to these people, as plain as it is, you need to deal with the monetization platforms that place their ads on these original sources, which brings back to the original question about, is native still relevant? Of course it is, because people always go back to the sources of content, because the number of people is growing. There is definitely more credible journalism than it used to be 20, 30 years ago. And it's better monetized, it's more engaging. In some cases, not all of them, it's even more trustworthy and more professionally written. So I think it's a good time for native. There's so much technology being introduced since recently. You're no longer buying on a CPC basis. You're buying occasionally on a CPA basis, which is super convenient. Like 5 years ago, I could have signed so many deals, but I lost them because the focal point was, do you guys sell on a CPA basis? No, we have CPC and it's super convenient, gives you more flexibility. Thank you very much. Let's chat when you have CPA. And now you have it. And there's more traffic and it's more premium and there are lots of integrations. So it's a very good time for native. And, like those who don't trust me, you don't have to, first of all. And secondly, if you do want to trust me, well, check out the financials of Taboola and Outbrain. These are public companies. You'll see that the revenue keeps growing, which means there's either more advertisers or more spent. But either way, there is a growth projection.
Right. Yeah, perfectly said. I think you gave us a lot to unpack there. First of all, I agree. I find myself doing this a lot often, scrolling Facebook or Twitter. I see an article, click through to it. Now I'm all of a sudden I'm on Fox or CNN or some news website, and I'm reading the articles. And then naturally, Me personally, I always scroll down and I look for the native ads to see, who's promoting what and what's working. But no, it is a natural progression of, scrolling a social media and, seeing a link to an article, being interested in clicking.
But Joey, when you're scrolling through the ads and then you accidentally see a MaxWeb ad, do you do like this?
No, I don't click it. I don't want to lower anybody's conversion rate for no reason. I always leave it.
I usually recognize certain ads, even it's been like almost 7 months. Sometimes I see ads and I'll be like, I think I know whose ad is this.
Yeah, no, sometimes I do click through. I won't lie.
Exactly.
But no, I'm very good at recognizing the VSL ads, before the video even starts playing, or I see half of the image. I already know what it's gonna click through to.
You're a good guy, Joey, who doesn't really.
Well, I don't want people to say their conversion rate's low, and I was there clicking it the other day with no intention to convert.
And then someone writes a complaint that there's lots of bots on CNN, and it's just always trying like I'm gonna
exactly, man. I don't click. But no, I agree. Native is doing very well, and we see it as well from the network perspective. It's not a slowing traffic source by any means. If anything, it's growing.
For sure.
So now that we've established that native is still alive and well and strong and a valuable traffic source, I wanted to ask you, do you think beginners, completely new affiliates, should start with native traffic with its cost and everything, or should they, consider maybe Facebook ads or something that's a little less expensive at the very beginning of their career?
There are a couple of answers to this question. I think geography and economy of this geography, the associated one, is crucial when you're making your decision. Because let's say if you're based in the US, where typical budgets are much higher and people are a bit more comfortable spending larger sums of money on testing, I would say go for native. Like, it's a no-brainer. And I'll unpack this in a second. If you're from countries where large budgets do not come easy, and I've seen this before on multiple occasions, where for someone, spending $1,000 on a test is an enormous sum. It's almost like, I don't know, $1 million for me.
Yeah,
and it's
might as well be, right?
Well, yeah, but it's reasonable to say that I cannot really spend $1,000 on testing. Mind you, on native, you probably need a couple of grand to get.
Yeah, $1,000 just gets you a little bit of data. You're not even ready to optimize and scale.
Again, it depends on the traffic source. On Taboola, no. On MJD, probably depending on certain, on certain geos, because on Taboola, for instance, you scale your campaigns vertically, right? So you can take a single campaign and then scale it as much as you want. You don't really need several smaller campaigns. Whilst on Outbrain, for instance, you typically scale by having several smaller campaigns, and it's semi-identical to MJD, where you would never really see, with very few exceptions, a campaign spending more than $2,000 per day. Whilst on Taboola, you can have a single campaign spending $50K per day. Right? It's just how algo works. So given this, on Outbrain, you would start with smaller budgets because the way you can scale your campaign is somewhat limited and capped at a certain amount, artificially though. Not like it's you cannot go above it. You probably can, it's just very, very difficult. It's not how algo works. So with native, the platform really matters. The geography really matters. Like if you come, I don't know, from India, it's probably more difficult for you to spend $1,000 on a test versus if you're based in the US. It's just simply two different economies with different buying power. So what's important to keep in mind is you need to be comfortable with the idea of investing the budget. Because if you're treating it as the money that should bring you an immediate return, you're setting yourself for failure. Because on native, especially nowadays with lots of competition, it's quite difficult to get profitable fast, unless you are very lucky or unless you have some sort of under the table insight being pulled for you. Which again,
which is this video, which is this very video.
Exactly. Hit me up in Skype, but no.
Yeah. No, you need a big risk appetite for native. It takes a lot of spend to really get where you're going.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. I mean, it's definitely a bit more. It's definitely riskier than social, because social, hey, like you have all sorts of targeting, because these are walled gardens with tons of demographic data and behavior data on you, so you can be very precise with what message you're crafting and who you're sending this message to. Whilst on native, your targeting is your creative funnel. Like the way to target the right audience is to craft the right story and go with the narrative until your cold traffic becomes warm and the consumer gets so engaged to the point they're willing to commit to a purchase or to a lead gen. So again, a shorter answer would be native is a good option if you have some experience in media buying, because native tends to be quite stable. And depending on the traffic source, but let's say the big five, big four, big five, they tend to have very premium traffic. Like Taboola, Outbrain, Baidu, MJD, and Ref Content, they tend to have quite premium traffic, which works for the majority of affiliate marketers, and it's very stable. So if you have some experience, definitely consider switching to native, or at least differentiating your marketing mix with native. If you are
Mixing it in.
just getting started with affiliate marketing and you're a bit uncomfortable with spending a lot of money on testing, native probably is not for you, because it requires quite a bit of initial investment, and it requires quite a bit of control, because on social you're basically dealing with one traffic source. On native, you're dealing with a network of lots of sources which you need to micromanage, and even with lots of promoted AI capabilities that these platforms have developed, there's still quite a bit of hand holding involved. And if you don't really feel comfortable being this hand holder, well, by lacking experience to do so, in this case, maybe consider social. Push traffic, I've heard, is relatively easy to master. Might be wrong, I've never touched it myself. I would say if you're seasoned or semi-seasoned, definitely consider it. You will love it. If you're just getting started, native is probably your step number 2, not step number 1.
Okay, fair enough. I think those are good insights for people. So for those who are, just getting started, moving into native, maybe they have some experience on Facebook or another ad network, and they want to test out native. Is there a specific ad network or native platform that you recommend buying traffic from to start, in terms of cost and quality of traffic and just ease of use? I don't want to get you in trouble. I know you've got good relationships with all of them.
No, I
Um,
mean, I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. I mean, I worked for Taboola for 5.5 years. I mean, we haven't mentioned everything. So the background was like, 5.5 years at Taboola as a director for Eastern Europe and Israel. So pretty much all the new business for growth clients. So those that work for organizations of small to medium size were coming through my team. So yeah, I'm a bit biased to say that I quite like starting with Taboola. But that being said, as an agency, we've spent more than $100 million across all the native sources over the years. It's Taboola, Outbrain, it's Baidu. We've recently started with MJD, and we're hoping to start with Ref Content. So we're not as proficient in the latter two as we're in the first three, but we've spent a considerable amount of money with those. And Xevio that you mentioned, that's the agency, that's the team that media buys. And Native Hub is the education platform that we've created to help marketers like ourselves a couple of years ago to get started on native. So actually, if you engage with the platform, you'll see that every traffic source has its own advantages and disadvantages. I mean, Baidu at this stage, as of the recording now, Baidu is relatively straightforward when it comes to media buying, simply because they don't have that many traffic sources, yet they only have the bigger ones. And when you're setting up your campaign, I would say it's definitely on the simpler side versus, Taboola and Outbrain, where you have a huge diversity of features and options to choose from. And then there is MJID that's recently reworked their dashboard, and it's also quite straightforward, yet I would say it's a bridge between Baidu simplicity and the diversity of features of Taboola and Outbrain. So it's hard to say which one to start from, because everyone has its own sort of starting points that would make your beginner journey easier. Taboola has a fantastic selling team. They will onboard you in no time and make your life very easy and explain everything. Outbrain's been on the market the longest. They really understand their product. They're huge, especially in certain geos. So if you're considering launching in certain tier 1 countries, maybe it's a good idea for you to go to Outbrain instead of Taboola, because they're a bit bigger in certain geos. But then there is Taboola that also has some geos which are larger. So, as you said, without getting myself into trouble, I would say speak with both for Taboola and Outbrain and decide for yourself where do you want to start, because they're very, very close in terms of size in certain geos. I mean, to give you an idea, Outbrain monetizes CNN and Fox in the US, making them a traffic source with enormous reach. But Taboola has CNBC and Yahoo. And Yahoo's got like 2.5 something billion monthly visits. That's also a lot. What's bigger, CNN and Fox plus all the publishers, or Yahoo with all the publishers? I don't know. Ask for the number of impressions and make your own mind. MGIT is good for certain verticals, particularly good for health and supplements, certain D2Cs. And I mean, there you go. Please tune in. We will have a webinar fairly soon, without spoiling too much. But they're quite large in certain geos. I know in Europe they're huge. In Italy, they're massive. In Latin America, I think at least there are 2 large websites from the top 5 Mexican websites off the top of my head, which are monetized by MGID. So Latin America, definitely consider MGID. In Asia, certain countries. So I would say speak with all of them, really. Take the amount of traffic as a starting point for making your decision. Maybe spend some time playing around with the dashboard, or at least watching some videos on Native Hub or online, and just making your own mind. Personally, I like starting with Taboola, but that's because I'm biased. Taboola is not the easiest platform to use out of the 5. This I can say for sure. It's got a lot of features. It might get a little bit complicated. But if you master it, like we hopefully have over the last couple of years, it might be your starting point as well. But other traffic sources are also fantastic.
Yeah. Sounds like there's a couple different factors to look into and consider when moving into native. And, depending on what you want to promote and where, you may want to try a different network over the other, which is a very good answer to stay on the fence and not not make anybody mad. So no, I agree. And quick FYI for anybody watching this, if you need any introductions to Taboola, Outbrain, MGID, Rev Content Reps, please reach out to your MaxWeb AM or Andrey if you're in touch with him. I'm sure we're happy to facilitate any intros to any of those networks. So you kind of touched on it there in your answer, going back to, helping the newer generation of people in the industry. And I think that's something that Native Hub will do. I think Native Hub will help a lot of the newer people looking to get into native, obviously, as you guys have a lot of information and courses there. So I kind of wanted to ask you, is Native Hub really only for beginners, or, someone who's been spending on native for, 6 months, a year, would they still find value?
Great question. I think the short answer, because I've been giving you long answers.
It's all good.
Yeah. I think the short answer is it's great for both. And I'll unpack why. It's great for beginners because there is everything a beginner needs in the hub. So the hub is the education platform which you subscribe for, log into, and you get access to pre-recorded masterclasses which you've pre-recorded in-house. So you won't find these trainings anywhere else. It's all on the Native Hub, the media buying trainings, the applied trainings, which you otherwise would not be able to find anywhere else. It's done by marketers like us, spending $100 million on native and working for native companies ourselves. So by marketers for marketers, and we have no intention of creating another community. Like there's enough great communities. There is STM, there is Warrior, there is Attila. There is Geek Out, or Geek X as they call themselves now. There's Affiliate Fix. There's Filarama. There's a bunch of great communities. right? SEO forum, Black Hat SEO forum. Like I've learned from those. And I think the only gap which I discovered personally, having been learning from all these communities, is that they're a bit too decentralized. Like there is a bunch of great people there trying to educate each other. But sometimes knowledge is outdated because it comes from personal experience, meaning it's a little bit biased. And secondly, it's decentralized, meaning that in order for you to find a person to talk to, you first need to speak with a bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing there before you find the person who you can truly learn from. And this is how we've created Native Hub in partnership with all the traffic sources. So we're getting the first-hand information. We created the media buying trainings using our own experience, but all the information about how to start, what budgets you need, what would be the logistics of starting, who to speak to, what would be the slides for each traffic source, what are the benchmarks. Everything is supplied by the company's reps, and it's all centralized in one place. You don't need to go to different forums trying to sort of pull the bits and cherries from different places to assemble something complete. It's already there. The trainings, the benchmarks, the reports, like the manuals and guidelines. We're doing lots of webinars, like one with MaxWeb and MJD in a couple of weeks. We're doing consulting hours. We've pulled together and aggregated all the tools that media buyers need in order to succeed. So basically, it's the element of handholding, like Native itself. Like Native is not about giving choice when you're trying to sell something. It's about an editorial, and the selling page, the offer page, whatever you call it, a landing page, right?
Yep, the VSL page.
Yeah. So the same is with Native Hub. There is not too much choice. It's not about, speaking with hundreds of people, though you can, if you like. The idea is that we've pulled everything together for everyone's convenience, and we're curating this knowledge. So it's not it's not a party where you can meet all sorts of people like a forum. It's more like a fun classroom where you can enter, learn the gist of it, and exit anytime. So that's
fun
why it's
classroom. I love that.
The fun classroom, exactly. That's
a good way of putting it.
That's the classroom.
Very good way of putting it.
Yeah, and seasoned affiliates would probably get a lot of information as well, because they would get a chance to meet other people like themselves. It's still a networking exercise. They will get access to consulting, because regardless of how great you are, you always have questions. And sometimes you're lucky to have a great rep who speaks your language. But sometimes you have a rep who joined yesterday, and they might represent the company they're working for, but they might not be able to give you the set of support and knowledge that you're looking for, especially if you're one of the seasoned guys. So it's a bit of a lottery. With us, it's seasoned marketers for seasoned marketers. And finally, you can find different guidelines for how to try different verticals, right? Like if you're running search arbitrage, for instance, and you want to move to D2C space, there is information how to get started with MaxWeb, for instance, right? So, and even if you're running search arbitrage, you'll find a lot of interesting bits of knowledge from other experienced search arbitragers who are publishing case studies there. So, regardless whether you're new or not quite new, you will find different tiers of knowledge there, different levels of knowledge, which would appeal to practically anyone, I think.
No, it sounds great. It sounds like a great supplement to your native ad network rep. And it's very important to learn from those who have done, and compare opinions between the industry, Ask MaxWeb what offers are working, ask your native rep what offers are working, and then, maybe go Native Hub and see what other people are seeing success on. And if you get the same answer 3 times, then you're pretty likely on the right track. No, it sounds like a great supplement, like I said, to supplemental aid to your native ad network rep. And it's very interesting. So do you have any case studies from affiliates who have signed up for Native Hub and found success on a campaign, maybe within the first 90 days of being on the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. There are 2 ways to answer this question, the lyrical one and the financial one. So the lyrical one is we've received genuinely an overwhelming amount of positive feedback, people saying Thank you very much. Changed our life with your referrals, with your consulting hours and webinars. And it was definitely very rewarding to receive this feedback, knowing that, what we've been aspiring to create for many years, me at Taboola and Nadim, our founder and the CEO outside of it, we're hoping to make for many years, is finally taking up shape, and it's serving the needs of all the interested people and affiliate marketers, both seasoned and unseasoned. But that's sort of the lyrical answer. Yes, there are a lot of people who have been very happy, and we've been somewhat tracking their success on Taboola and Outbrain, not really like looking into their dashboards. Obviously, we cannot do this. But we've been keeping in touch with the reps and themselves, and just to be sure that whatever they're doing is meaningful, and that they're making the most for their money. Now, the financial one, and the first one really ties in the financial one, is that in some cases we have been properly tracking the success, meaning that we make an introduction to a traffic source, and then we make an introduction to a network, and then we're really like working very closely on curating and consulting the client. So, for instance, I'll give you an idea. We have quite a tight grip on the search arbitrage. We love doing it. We've been consulting a lot of people on search arbitrage. We don't have access to the feeds. We have access, to education, to media buying tools, and pretty much everything that might be required. So we've done quite a few cases with some beginners who had general interest to run search arbitrage, but they had no feed, no understanding. They only had the finances and their desire to make a lot of money. So we said, let's do a case study. So first, you'll be losing a lot of money because you'll be trying to carve out your niche. But the benefit of working with us is that we give you all the trainings, we connect you to the sources, traffic sources. We give you all the necessary tools, and we'll curate you. We cannot media buy for you. This is your job. But we can give you everything you might need to succeed. And it's already 2-3 times more than your average affiliate gets if they're just starting in self-service. And the same thing can be applied to a CPA network, for instance, right? So if you're getting started with MaxWeb, and yesterday you were running social, and you're like, hey, I've seen some VSL ads appearing on Daily Mail, and I want to replicate this, it's maybe a good idea to try Native Hub, because you'd be like, well, I need access to the traffic sources, and we make this entry, we make a referral. Or
you guys do the research for them, basically.
Pretty
There's
much,
no need to scour the internet and find every nook and cranny that has
it's
the
about
tidbits about native.
time. It's about saving time, because this is the most valuable asset you can have. Money you can make, or you can get a loan and then pay it back, especially if you're really good at media buying. Or you can do a rev share. There's all sorts of things you can do to source money. So it's not really the issue. Now, experience is a bit more difficult to gain, because you cannot get it in an instant. You can only gain it over time. Now, time is the one that is most valuable and most difficult to get a hold of, because, again, you need to source it from somewhere. If you're at a permanent position somewhere, like you have a job and you're starting affiliate marketing as a side gig, the more time you spend on learning, which is very important, the less time you're spending on actually earning money. So by aggregating all the knowledge for you, I'm saving you time, hence making you money. And once you adopt this mentality of someone saving your time, which is the most valuable asset possible, this is where you start truly valuing, places like this, good forums, good communities, or good education platforms where there is up-to-date, valuable information which is delivered by experts, and not just experts in their field, but experts in delivering information. Because you might have a great teacher who's terrible at what they do, or you might have an expert who's not really good at conveying information. And it's very rarely where you get both in the same box. So this is what we're aspiring to do, be experienced marketers who are working really hard to convey information the way that it's very easy to digest.
An efficient way, easy to digest way.
Yeah.
I like all these comparisons you've made today. The fun classroom, less time learning, more time earning. I love all of it, and it's very true. So final question for you today. What is the most exciting feature on Native Hub for MaxWeb affiliates?
I mean, I think the media buying trainings are one of the most exciting features of it because, again, as I said, you can't really find them anywhere else. Like when we were recording those, the philosophy we had in mind is that we didn't want to create a $1 million case study. There's plenty of those on YouTube. There's nothing wrong with those apart from the fact that these are retrospective case studies. If I'm making $1 million right now, and it's truly a unique way of making $1 million, why would it be silly enough to tell you my secret?
Yep, the age-old question.
I'm sharing something that's already outdated. This is the only reason I'm putting a case study out there. Like, there's no way I'll make more money from YouTube ads than I'm making right now with my unique way of making money. So that's why I don't think that the YouTube videos are a great way of learning media buying. They're rather a great place to start and get excited about a traffic source or a niche that you would be running. And for the same reason, I don't think that the Udemy classes, for instance, are a great place as well, because you'd be getting step-by-step guides on how to set up your campaign or how to, register on Taboola or Outbrain. But they cannot teach you media buying, because media buying is a combination of scenarios you need to go through. Some of this, in some cases, there's like dozens and dozens of scenarios. And you need to go through them. You need to leave them in order to work out your own unique way of dealing with them to maintain profitability. And with our trainings we've tried to sort of push as many of these scenarios in one place as possible and supplement it with consulting. So you can go out there, join the group, ask the expert from our side or other experts who are there as well, external guests. Sometimes we actually have external guests coming in, like there was Haran, who is a used affiliate director of Outbrain. We had some guys doing generative AI. A guy named Mark was super knowledgeable. So we have external guests coming in. We have experts coming in. We have our internal experts delivering consulting. And if you have any questions about MaxWeb or running MaxWeb, which is VSL offers, health and supplement offers on one of the native traffic sources, first you can master the traffic source by watching all these masterclasses, and then you can go ask the people who've spent millions of dollars on running different offers, plus working for these traffic sources, all in one place, which is, I think, is a great way of succeeding, because it's all pulled in one place and it's delivered in an expert-like manner. So it's very, very convenient.
I love it. Very well said. Very well said. And I think that's a great place to close it out. So Andrey, thank you so much for joining us. I hope everybody watching, thank you. I hope everybody watching gained some great insights. Andrey, do you have an email address you want to plug in case anybody wants to reach out to you? Yes,
I can. It's a very simple one. It's Andrey@Xevio.io, Xevio with an X, Xevio.io. Just feel free to reach out, guys. I'll send you a nice trial link for Native Hub so you could check it out. And please do join the webinar. We'll be holding in a couple of weeks. There'll be a formal announcement. I don't want to spoil it, but in a couple of weeks, we're doing a MaxWeb MJD webinar where we will be breaking down specific offers, very specific traffic source, and we'll be touch basing on the media buying aspect and the generative AI aspect of running native campaigns with MaxWeb. So tune in. Hopefully you'll find it very applied. And
there it is. You heard it here first. Yes, this is the first of a few videos we'll be doing with your team and some of the native ad networks. So thank you again so much for joining and for imparting all of that knowledge on our viewers. Hope to do it again with you soon.
Please, and hopefully not in the 3 years time span.
No. We'll get you on a regular schedule, at least once a year.
Works for me.
Thanks again, Andrey.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one,
guys.